Underworld Podcast Network.
Welcome to Whining About Herstory, where two longtime friends get drunk and talk about women you may have never heard of. I'm Kelley.
And I'm drunk.
That's Emily.
I'm Emily. No, so scheduling problems, blah, blah, blah. We are recording 2 episodes in one day, so we are 1 episode deep.
Which means 1 bottle deep.
Yep. And we are ready to continue with the empowerment, women's history.
So if we're a little extra weird,
Yeah.
you'll know why.
This shit is going to get crazy and empowered, and I'm so excited.
I don't have any weird names in my seconds. Like, I didn't even think about that. The universe just combined for me and was like, no, you're not going to do any weird names for your second story.
That's okay.
Because I probably would not be able to pronounce them.
I'm actually really anxious about my story because it's kind of a bummer. I sent Kelley a Snapchat when I was doing my research, and I was like, that feeling when your story is super depressing.
It's okay, I'll just whine and cry.
I was gonna say we've got the wine, so this is gonna go one of 2 ways. We're either gonna laugh inappropriately or we're gonna cry.
Maybe a little both.
Who knows? That's half the fun.
Thank you for joining us today, though. We're really excited to have you here. Emily is going to tell you about our wine.
Okay, so I picked the wine, and I carefully picked this from the discount basket next to the checkout.
I mean, it looks super cute.
It's called Sheep Thrills. And you're not mishearing me. It's sheep, like, bah!
Yeah, it has, like, parachuting sheep on the front of it. It's so
It's
cute.
little sheep parachuting, holding wine glasses.
Do they have wine glasses?
Yeah, look.
Oh, that's cute. And the lead sheep has, like, one of those, like, aviator caps with the goggles on.
Yes.
Real cute.
It's so cute. So, like, you know why I picked this. Anyone would pick this.
Yeah.
So, this is Sheep Thrills Pecorino Terre de Chieti. I don't know how you say that. It's
good enough.
Chieti. So,
Whining About Herstory
it's
stamp of
Italian,
approval.
I think. So, I'm just going to read the back. Pecorino takes its name from pecora, the Italian word for sheep. So I thought pecorino was like a wine varietal I didn't know. No, it's just sheep.
Well, it's a derivative of sheep.
For centuries, vintners in the mountainous pasture lands of Abruzzo have protected their grapes from the sheep who love to snack on them. Luckily, the sheep lost, and today we enjoy Sheep Thrills Pecorino, a delightful medium-bodied white with delicate floral aromas, fresh tropical fruit flavors, and lingering mineral notes. Delicious on its own or paired with seafood, sushi, white meats, and sheep milk cheeses, appropriate. Serve well chilled. We did not.
No. I just noticed one of the hearts by the sheep is a heart. I mean, one of the clouds by the sheep is a heart. And then up here are hearts.
What? Oh, yeah, it's
One
like
of the clouds
sideways.
is like a heart, and then these are hearts.
Yeah, okay, it's like a sideways heart. That's
This
cute.
is what I do when Emily's reading the back of bottles.
Oh, I fucking love it. So I actually haven't had a taste of this yet. What are we cheersing to?
My husband making us smoothies between episodes.
Yes.
I went upstairs to get us water because it's important to hydrate when you drink.
Be responsible.
And my husband had just made smoothies, and I was like, "Oh, is that just for you?" And he's like, "No, there should be enough for all of us." So I was like, "Oh, yeah."
Because remember, listeners, empowered men empower women. Cheers. Clink. Whoa, this is super muted compared to the last one we drank.
It definitely doesn't have that like extra punch of sour, but it has, I don't know, a note of something on the back end. Like when you swallow it, like it's not tart, it's just there.
You know, when I like smell it, like I'm pretending I know wine, it smells a little sheepy. No, like seriously, check it out. Like, you know what I mean,
like
right?
Wool, like fresh wool.
Yeah,
That's what it smells like.
a little
You're right.
Barney.
Emily's crazy. It's okay. I went with wool, not barn smell.
Well, hey, I'll still drink it. Gets me where I need to be. Also, I think we should each cheers with these smoothies and take a taste. Cheers.
That was super muted.
That's because, aren't these like plastic
No,
glasses?
these are glasses.
Wait, one more.
She hit it harder. She's trying to break my cups.
These are not like glass. What? They...
Ow. That was a dumb idea. No, they're definitely glass. I know my cups.
This is really good. What's in it? It's like coconut milk, honey, strawberries.
And then like a breakfast blend, which is like mangoes, more strawberries, and something else from Costco.
This is fucking delicious. I would die for this smoothie.
Yeah, so if you're avoiding dairy, which is my husband is, so you can't do yogurt, coconut milk is a really good alternative. Plus
It's
it adds
really
a little
good.
flavor. And then honey for sweetness instead of sugar.
I'm not the biggest coconut person.
Neither am I, but I really like this.
This is delicious. Fuck the wine. I'm drinking this. Welcome to Smoothing about Herstory.
I know at first when I saw you made them, I'm like, I wonder if we could mix our wine with that. Maybe one time we'll have wine smoothies.
I was going to say there are wine smoothies and we need to do that.
Yeah, next time we're going to do like a daytime recording instead of a nighttime recording and it's nice out, I'll make wine smoothies.
Perfect. And then we'll record outside on the hammock and the audio quality will be terrible.
Shitty, but we'll have fun.
Fuck yes. Oh my God. This is so nice because we've been doing so many weeknight recordings where it's like we got to get in, got to get done, and then got to go.
Usually one of us has to go for one reason or the other. Even on Fridays because we get kicked out of the studio at like 6:30.
Yep.
So it's nice to just be able to like screw around, and then we have time like with each other too, which is nice.
And
that's
time
not
to catch
just
up
recording.
on Veronica Mars. Because we
July
watch like
the new season.
Yes,
out.
I'm so excited.
Promotion.
So we like pregame our wine before recording, and we watch Veronica Mars, and we're catching up on the old episodes,
which we've seen most of.
Yeah. I don't remember like half of it, so I'm making
so
guesses.
Emily's making comments, and I'm trying like to hide my face so she can't see my facial expression.
Kelley knows everything that's happening, and I'm like, the butler did it, and she's like, Emily, you dumb bitch.
It's okay when we get like probably like a disc into season 2 or 3. That's when I like haven't seen anymore.
I was gonna say season 2, I know how it ends. Season 3, I don't even think I ever got through season 3.
I know I've seen part of it. Yeah, I've never finished it. And then obviously we saw the movie together when it came out.
And now even the old stuff is on Hulu.
Yep, they just released all of it on Hulu so you can watch it all before the new season starts.
So I need to try to be responsible because I love watching it with Kelley, but it's gonna be really hard not to watch it at home because she owns the DVD. So that's the reason I haven't like just watched it all yet.
Watched it, yeah. But there's something really nice about doing it together, like the commentary we can do and like the back and forth.
Yeah, we get to like
lonely
warm
watching
up.
It alone.
Yep.
All
Okay,
right, let's jump into your depressing story.
I get to go first.
Right, we're still riding the wine wave from episode 1.
Yeah, hold on. Let me just take a sip here. Yeah, it just tastes sheepy to me, like earthy, you know.
Just start your story.
Okay, so I am covering Ruth Coker Burks, aka the Cemetery Angel, and everyone who knows who that is just going, God, Emily, no.
Everyone's
don't
like,
fucking
all right,
do it.
skipping the next 45 minutes.
Yeah, because here's the thing. We've talked about it before. The hardest stories to share are some of the most important ones. So I'm trying to keep this
It's okay, my story's like more like funny than it is serious, so
thank you, Christ. But like I want to attack this story from a place of respect, but also like keep it light and palatable because I know I don't need any more depressing shit in my life, but
I will try not to be inappropriate.
No, you'll know. You'll know. You're a good person. Okay. It was a visit like any other. 25-year-old Ruth had been spending a lot of time at the local hospital visiting her friend who was fighting cancer. Like every visit before, she passed a door covered in a red bag that read, "Don't enter, GRID," or gay-related immune deficiency.
So AIDS.
Yes, and that's what it was known as before they came up with HIV/AIDS because
it was known as GRID.
Yes.
Okay.
Super classy. The door was never opened, and even the nurses seemed afraid to enter. You see, it was 1984 in the heat of the AIDS crisis. There was a lot of misinformation, fear, and homophobia surrounding this mysterious illness that was rapidly taking the lives of more and more young, otherwise healthy gay men. Ruth, who had a gay cousin, was curious about the illness and the patient on the other side of the red door. She asked the nurses, whom she'd gotten to know well over her many visits, about the patient. They warned her, and this is in Alabama, Don't you dare go in that room. He's got the gay disease. They don't even know what it is. Don't you go in there. And that's my terrible Southern accent because this is depressing.
Pretty decent.
This is depressing, so I'm trying to like find the funny where I can. At the time, no one knew how AIDS spread, which is probably why the nurses wouldn't bring the patient's food into his room. Ruth could see trays of food piled up outside of the man's door, trays he was too weak to retrieve, and she could see the nurses drawing straws to see who would have to go in and check on him.
That's terrible.
Yeah. Ruth recalled that she wasn't sure what made her enter the room. Maybe it was her maternal instincts as a young mother, or perhaps it was curiosity. Whatever it was, Ruth felt compelled to see the patient everyone was so terrified of. Lying in the bed was a man named Jimmy, and it was clear that he was dying. Ruth asked Jimmy if there was anything she could do for him, to which Jimmy asked for his mama. I'm going to have to cut so much out because this is really hard. Like, I was doing the research and I'm crying. So Ruth walked to the nurses and asked if they could call Jimmy's mother. They replied, "That man's mother is not coming. He's been here for 6 weeks. Nobody is coming." Though they weren't hopeful, the nurses gave Ruth the mother's number anyway. When Ruth called Jimmy's mother, she first hung up. So Ruth calls the mother, and the mother hangs up immediately. Well, no one hangs up on Ruth Coker fucking Burks. So she called back and said, "If you hang up on me again, I will put your son's obituary in your hometown newspaper and I will list his cause of death." Because since AIDS was primarily only affecting gay people, it was like, not only are you dying, but you're being outed to your family. And your family is probably not going to be okay with it. And so that would be embarrassing to this like awful, terrible mother who probably shouldn't have had fucking kids. This caught the woman's attention.
Really?
Yeah, long enough for her to say, "I don't have a son. My son died years ago to me. He was a sinner. I don't know the man who's there, but when he dies, don't call me back." And then hung up because she's a bitch and I hate her.
That's terrible.
The nurses wouldn't help. The mother wouldn't help. So Ruth did the only thing she could. She went back to Jimmy's room, not knowing what she was going to say. But when Ruth took Jimmy's hand, he looked at her and said, "Oh, Mama, I knew you'd come." Ruth recalled that Jimmy started sobbing, but was so dehydrated he couldn't even produce tears. Ruth stayed with Jimmy for 13 hours until he finally passed away.
That's
And I'm
so
gonna
nice of her.
I'm gonna give everyone 10 minutes to cry that out and process those feelings. Pause. Okay, welcome back. I hope you had some tissues handy and your coworkers aren't looking at you like you're crazy. Here we are. So Ruth was born in Hot Springs, Arkansas in 1958 or 1959. Literally, this woman is still alive and I could not find like her birthday. So Ruth Coker Burks, if you hear this, please tell us when your birthday is and we will send you presents because I fucking love you. So she was born as Frances Ruth Coker Burks after her grandmother. As a child, Ruth's mother was under long-term hospitalization for tuberculosis.
Wow.
I can't believe that was still a thing in the 50s. Like, I always think of it as an 1800s
it's still
thing.
around.
Yeah, but I always think of, like, the sanatoriums.
Yeah, I mean, it was rampant back then because it's just so catching.
Yeah. So her mother was under hospitalization for tuberculosis, and Ruth's father acted as her primary caregiver until he died when Ruth was 5. There's literally, like, nothing in this story that stops
sad,
being
yeah.
sad. This left Ruth's mother struggling to be a parent while managing her illness. And there are so many parents, like, today who I'm sure are struggling with that, you know?
Oh, yeah.
It's like being a parent's hard enough, let alone fighting a horrible illness.
Yeah.
Ruth credits this too tragic for Disney childhood for giving her an incredible sense of empathy. For generations, members of Ruth's family had been buried in File Cemetery dating all the way back to the 19th century.
Holy shit.
Let's take a moment to reflect how crazy that is.
That's impressive.
Yeah. I mean, like, all your family's in one
Yeah, 'cause
place.
usually people either spread out or, like, cemeteries get full or It's impressive.
Ruth's mother had a plot in the same row as her brother, Ruth's uncle. However, the two got into an argument, and in a move of incredible pettiness, which I aspire to be, Ruth's mother bought 262 grave spaces to ensure the uncle and his extended family couldn't be buried with the rest of the family.
That's amazing.
Like, I don't know what the argument is. I don't know who's in the right, but that's like a sass move. Like, that's a queen bee
move. You can be in the same
move.
Graveyard, but you're at least 265 graves away from everybody else.
That's how many times you pissed me off. So those 262 plots were left to Ruth, and she had no fucking idea what she would ever do with them. That is, until that fateful day in 1984. It took a lot of phone calls before Ruth was able to find a funeral home that would take Jimmy's body. When she did finally find one, which was 70 miles away, they said they would only cremate him. And in a super classy move, they sent Jimmy's ashes back in a cardboard box.
I've heard about people doing that before. That's terrible.
I'm like, could you be any more shitty? Come on, this is literally your job. Ruth had to use a cookie jar for an urn.
Oh.
And then she faced problem number 2. No cemetery would take him. Like, that's how scared and hateful people were.
She had the plots. Oh, this is before she thought of what to do.
Yes. Like, Kelley knows where this is going, and you know where this is going, but Ruth in the moment was like, what the fuck do I do?
Yeah, that's bullshit. It's like, it's his ashes, people.
Yeah, like, you think you're gonna catch HIV and AIDS from someone's ashes?
Plus, it's like, what are you gonna do?
Down.
Like, break open the urn and sniff them?
Yeah, like, what?
Yeah.
Stop it! God.
That's crazy.
So, Ruth used one of the 262 plots and buried Jimmy. She couldn't find anyone that would dig the hole or anyone to say a prayer. So Ruth took her daughter, who was so little she still had a binky, and dug the grave herself and said a prayer.
How do you know she was so little she still had a binky?
Well, there are a ton of interviews with Ruth,
okay.
so
that's right, because you said she's still alive.
Yep. So a lot of the information I've gotten are from interviews with Ruth, which is really cool.
That's amazing.
Like she's
only like what, the second, maybe third person we've covered that's still alive.
Yeah. By the way, last month in June was the anniversary of Valentina Tereshkova's historic flight.
Yeah.
And I didn't know until like a week later. I didn't look it up. I was like, shit, we should have said that. But she's still alive and kicking.
Right. I know. I was like, I think she might be the only other one.
Well, and it's like we were talking about with Sorwana, how she took control of her narrative. Ruth is taking control of her narrative because she gets to tell her own story.
Yeah, which is amazing.
Fearing townspeople would deface the grave, she buried Jimmy on top of her father's grave.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's intense. Because, like, we have this really deeply internalized view on how we need to treat graves and dead and people's bodies and remains.
So she didn't even use one of the 262.
Exactly. Yeah, no, she buried this guy who she had met once and watched die on top of her own fucking father.
So that it wouldn't be defaced. Wow.
Yeah. Because she was afraid everyone would be like, oh, that's the spot where the gay guy's buried. Let's, like
dig him up and
piss on it and be shitty. Yeah.
That's terrible. Like the people, not...
Yeah.
It's amazing that she did that.
So this may have been a one-off act of extreme kindness, but word got around about Ruth's deed. Then the phone calls started. Ruth began getting calls from others suffering from AIDS who needed help. Ruth recalled, quote, word got out that there was this kind of wacko woman in Hot Springs who wasn't afraid. They would tell them, just go to her. Don't come to me. Here's the name and number. Go. I was their hospice. Their gay friends were their hospice. Their companions were their hospice. Doctors would not help these people. Nurses would not help these people. So Ruth and like the patient's friends would be their only means of medical and emotional support as they were dying.
That's terrible, which means they basically had no medical support.
Exactly. So referrals came from all over, including rural hospitals all over Arkansas.
Because they were just like, we don't want to deal with these patients, take them.
Yeah. They're like,
terrible.
I heard this rumor about this rando lady in Arkansas. So instead of me doing my job as a medical professional, call her. Which Ruth, to her credit, fucking took it on. Good for her. But I'm like, dude, this is your job. Fucking do it.
Yeah, it's sickening.
Ruth began taking patients to appointments, helping them get financial assistance when they could no longer work, helped them get access to medications, and provided general emotional support. So she's doing the bare minimum here. And I'm not saying she like cheaped out.
No, not at all. Like, because she had a life, she had a husband, she had a daughter. Like, I wonder how her husband felt about all this.
But basically, she is providing just the most basic level of human kindness because no one else was providing it.
Right. It's like a best friend.
Yeah. I mean, it like, Jared does not have HIV or AIDS, but it's a lot of the stuff that I do as his caregiver. I take him to appointments. I schedule stuff. I help him. Like, I make sure he's taking his meds. And I provide emotional support. And that, like, it's so basic. And the fact that these people weren't able to get that is disgusting.
On their own is, it's terrible.
Getting medicine for patients was particularly difficult since a lot of pharmacies flat out refused to carry them. And that, I'm like, you can't tell me you were afraid of catching anything. You're just being a homophobic dick.
That's terrible.
When her patients died, they would leave Ruth their unused medications. She would stockpile these meds to use for patients who couldn't get access. So she became like her own little pharmacy. As a real estate agent, Ruth couldn't finance everything herself and relied on donations. She partnered with drag clubs and gay bars to host fundraisers to raise money. Ruth said, quote, "They would twirl up a drag show on Saturday night and here'd come the money. That's how we'd buy medicine. That's how we'd pay rent. If it hadn't been for the drag queens, I don't know what we would have done." So
that's
she's
what
not
I was
doing
wondering,
this
because
alone.
obviously these people are coming from all over Arkansas. Like, that was my question. Like, where are they living? So they must have put them up somewhere.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Like, that's community right there. Like,
right. And I feel like I keep going back to this in our episodes, but it makes me think of Marsha P. Johnson, Sylvia Rivera. They weren't just rejected by the heteronormative society, they were rejected by their own community. So to see this community coming together to support each other is beautiful.
When people are afraid of this disease,
doctors are not helping you.
And the community that at large that should be more wary of the disease is like, you know what? You're one of us. We're going to help you.
Right. And just a heads up, if you're interested in going into the medical field, but you're not comfortable with treating gay people or people of different ethnicities or drug users or something like that, don't fucking do it. You do not belong there, because everyone deserves adequate health care. It does not fucking matter who they are. Okay? Okay? We're good. We're going to move on now.
Don't violate your Hippocratic oath, people.
Right. Like, that's why it's there. When patients would die, Ruth would always contact their families and try to get them to claim their bodies. So she wasn't just like she was making an honest effort to get families to step up to the plate. They were rarely compassionate and would even pray at her. Yes, at her. Like, she recalled one time when someone's family was like praying at her, like they were trying to exorcise Satan. Like, it was an aggressive move. And I'm like, don't fucking weaponize prayer like that, you psycho. Stop.
Right, like she was there with your child or whatever as they died.
And
How
you
dare
refuse to be there. Yeah, that's the least. Like, can we remember that Jesus hung out with sex workers and lepers?
Yeah.
Fuck all of you. I'm as upset as I am angry. Like,
right?
That's
like
thing.
Depressing and angering.
So Ruth continued burying her patients on her family's plot. She would bury them over existing graves, again to discourage vandalism. And the fact that that was even a concern is just another layer of
I'm
tragedy.
Surprised whoever owned the graveyard wasn't like, dude, you can't do this.
Well, because she owned all the plots.
But those were empty plots, weren't they?
Yeah, but she was left her family's plots and the empty plots.
Okay.
So she had the right to do it. So when her daughter was old enough, she would help Ruth too, carrying her own little spade while Ruth would carry a post digger to help them dig the graves. Oh, also she can cookie jars, because these people's ashes are getting sent back in cardboard boxes. So all these people are buried in fucking cookie jars.
Which, hey, if you can find a nice cookie jar, that's not bad.
God, I mean, please. I want to be buried in one of those cookie jars where you try to put your hand in and it like yells at you. Fuck you. Of the thousands of patients Ruth cared for, she buried just over 40 on her family's plot.
Wow. I mean, that's actually, if she cared for thousands, that's a pretty small number, but at the same time, wow.
Yeah. But imagine all of the people who didn't have a Ruth in their lives.
Exactly.
Because of the care and support Ruth provided, her patients actually lived longer than the national average life expectancy for HIV and AIDS patients. This caught the attention of a little organization called the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, who sent researchers to investigate. Let's remember, she is providing the most basic level of support here.
And the CDC are like, maybe there's something to this.
Maybe there's something to people having access to medications and not being treated like the devil.
And food, because like the one you said, Jimmy in the hospital, his food was just being left outside his door and he was too weak to go get it.
Yes. And he was so dehydrated, he couldn't cry.
Yeah, that's bad.
What?
Yeah.
Stop. Okay.
So the CDC is coming to research.
Yeah. Even during Bill Clinton's presidency, Ruth worked as a consultant for AIDS education. And I didn't include this in the notes, and I figure if I remembered it, I'd mention it. She was friends with Bill Clinton as a child.
Interesting.
So what did Ruth get for all of her incredible work? Her community and church shunned her.
Yeah.
Classy. When she tried to tell people what had happened to try and raise the alarm, they wanted no part of it. One prominent doctor... hey, people are fucking dying and they need help. We should do something.
Yeah, okay.
No. Nope. One prominent doctor told her, quote, "I will tell you here and now, I will never have an AIDS patient in my office." Fucking doctor, man.
That's terrible.
Like, God.
Like, that just makes me angry. I just want to reach through the computer. If that guy's still alive, you're an asshole.
Sir, you are an asshole. You have the whining about Herstory stamp of assholery. We just made it up for you. For you.
We're not saying no one else is going to get it, but we made it for you.
Here and now. Ruth was on the finance committee of her church and asked if she could use one of the Sunday school classrooms at the church for support meetings once a month. The minister of the church said, in front of everyone for added shittiness, quote, "Surely you aren't talking about bringing those people into this church, are you?" I made him British because I imagine him as a British dude, like, pompous, twirling his mustache, even though this is Arkansas. Well, Ruth collected herself and responded like a lady, saying, "Oh no, I'm not talking about bringing those people into this church. Instead, I'd like to walk those people across your new $30,000 lawn and into your new $300,000 home and sit their asses down on the $40,000 worth of new furniture this church has just bought you. That's what I'd like to do with those people." I think we need to fucking cheers to that.
That's badass. She's like, the church spent all of this money on you.
Yeah.
And you're being shitty enough to be like, those people, fuck you.
Also, should I become a minister? Because if this fucker is being able to afford a $300,000 house.
Right. And furniture.
What?
Yeah.
I can't even afford a $30,000 lawn.
Right? I know. I'm like, man, I can't afford any of those things.
That's like what my house is worth. What?
Yeah. Wait, your house is only worth $30,000?
No, but...
Okay. I was like,
I'm exaggerating. But seriously, like...
That's insane.
And this is a man of God. Let's just remember, like, people are people, and being part of the church doesn't make you a good person. Also, like, Ruth, you're a fucking queen.
Right? I love
Polite
that.
Golf claps to you,
Way to call
honey.
him out.
When the medical community began pulling their heads out of their asses and attitudes towards AIDS began improving, Ruth worked as a fishing guide and funeral director in Florida.
Fishing guide?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's that. I love that. Like, oh, well, you know, I'm normally a funeral director, but in my off time, I'm like a part-time fishing guide, and I conduct funerals in my fishing hat, and, you know, got the little hook sticking out of it, and I, as a symbolist thing, I cast a lure as a symbol of the spirit moving on to the heaven. I don't fucking know. I'm making this up, but it's just such a weird thing.
Yeah, that is a weird combination.
In 2012, Ruth suffered a stroke and had to relearn how to talk, read, feed herself, and write, and do other everyday tasks. Actually, one of Jared's relatives, I think I told you about this, she had like 3 strokes.
Yeah.
And
it can be devastating.
I just saw pictures of her on, like, luckily she's going to be okay. They don't think there's going to be any lasting effects, but obviously she's got to go through therapy. But she was able to go hiking with her husband and son and like go camping. And I was like, honey, you just had like 3 strokes a couple months ago. You are killing it.
Right.
So she believes the stress from caring for AIDS patients actually contributed to the stroke. And by that, I think she means that everyone else's shittiness while she was caring for AIDS patients contributed to her stroke, because it shouldn't have been that hard.
All alone.
Yeah, it shouldn't have been that difficult.
Yeah.
She moved back to Arkansas to be closer to her family, and also because her health insurance dropped her after her stroke.
Jesus Christ.
American healthcare.
That's terrible.
This is 2012, too.
I know.
Like, in 2013, she heard about 3 foster children who were removed from school due to rumors that one might be HIV positive. I imagine, like an old grizzled cop, she said, "I'm getting too old for this shit," before she began advocating for the kids.
Good.
First of all, there's a test for this. Like, why are you fucking pulling all these children out of school over rumors? And second of all, children still get an education. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
I'm pretty sure by law in 2013, all kids under the age of like 16 have to have an education.
Right. She appeared on TV as an HIV advocate. Naturally, her community shunned her, and the funeral home...
×2.
Yeah. Double deuce. So the funeral home where she had worked, who basically said, like, hey, when you're better, you can come back. And she had a standing job offer there.
And they were like, fuck no.
Yeah, they pieced out of that one.
Fuck you, Florida funeral home.
Goddamn. Also, no one else would hire her. A local Walmart allegedly destroyed a chair she had sat in after finding out about her HIV advocacy. Again, this is 2013. It is 2019 right now.
Yeah, that's only
that
6
is 6 years ago.
In Arkansas.
And, you know...
Screw you.
Arkansas and Florida.
Florida.
Here's the thing. Florida has Florida Man. You guys are fucking sucking right now, okay? There is a website where you can type in your birthday and find your own Florida Man headline.
And the sad thing is, like, it's true. Like, all those stories you hear about, like, a man in Florida did this... They're true. That shit happens in Florida.
Oh my God. But like, you know, so I was talking with my boyfriend about this. When we hear about HIV and AIDS, like, it's not a death sentence anymore.
Not
it's
at all.
not as significant as it used to be. But I didn't realize, like, this is still like seriously destructive. This is 2013.
Yeah, that's terrible.
And people have these horrible toxic attitudes. And you know what it does? It kills people. It doesn't do anything to help. You just get to be shitty. And everyone else dies around you.
Yeah.
Way to go. Okay. In 2016, Ruth, along with other HIV/AIDS advocates, were honored at New York City's Pride Week by nonprofit group Broadway Sings for Pride. Ruth is also working on creating a memorial for AIDS victims and turning File Cemetery into a garden.
That's the one that she owns, like, the majority of, right?
Yep. So that's where all the patients she cared for are buried.
We should put that on our list.
That's literally the only reason I would think I would ever go to Arkansas. Tell me other cool things are in Arkansas.
We, like, go to Arkansas and see if she'll talk to us.
Oh my God. I'd probably cry.
I know, I'd like hug her and just start like bawling my eyes out.
I'm so sorry. Everyone's so mean. Everyone's an asshole and you're a fucking gem.
She'd just be like, come to Minnesota. We're not assholes.
Well, here's the thing. That's like when people say, oh, if you don't like what we're doing here, get out. No. I need to stay and fix it.
Like, you need to change.
Yeah. Okay. Legacy. Jimmy's story and those of the thousands of people Ruth helped were not unique. Imagine all of those people who didn't have anyone to claim and bury their bodies. Like, the community really had to come together to take care of these people after they died, and not everyone had that. So just like let that sadness sink in for a moment. Okay. While HIV and AIDS is no longer a death sentence like it used to be, it's still a serious issue that affects a disproportionate amount of Black, Latino, and LGBTQ plus community members. According to the Kaiser Family Foundation, 15% of people infected with HIV don't know it, which is why it's so important to use protection and get tested every 3 months if you're sexually active.
Did you know it's illegal? If you know you're positive and you don't share that with your partner, you can be arrested.
Yeah, I get that because the
because
person isn't able to use caution.
Yep. I was just
right.
For the audience at large. If you didn't know that, there's your fact of the day.
But that's so scary that 15% of people don't know it.
That's terrible.
Yeah. And as for Ruth, she's currently working on a memoir of her story and working on a film based on her life and the book, which as far as I know is not completed yet. So like she's on top of it. Let's also remember she had a stroke and had to learn how to write again and her memory was fucked up and she's still doing this.
That's amazing.
Kelley, you can bet your ass I am dragging you to the theater to hold my hand while I sob for 2 hours.
Okay.
I put that in my notes. This is happening.
I will do it. I will happily do it.
In 2017, Rose McGowan wrote and directed an unauthorized short film titled Ruth, inspired by Ruth's work. And Ruth still cares for the graves in her family plot and advocates for better care for HIV and AIDS patients. The cemetery has become a pilgrimage site for those affected by the crisis and a place for them to remember those they lost and say goodbye, even if they aren't buried there. And I'm going to whine cry.
I wonder if they ever moved the people that she buried on top of her family so they could have like independent gravestones.
I think that would be a really sweet idea, but considering that she was completely shunned by her community as recently as 2013.
We'll bring shades or spades. We'll do it.
I'm just gonna like bring a whole bunch of flowers and cry. But like, I mean, you think like the AIDS crisis affected so many people and they had to suffer in silence because we refused to acknowledge this was happening.
Right. Well, I mean, not we were.
Well,
we were
not
tots.
You and I, but
as
a society,
as a community, yeah.
And not everyone knows where the people they love ended up. Not everyone had a place to bury them. So the fact that people can come and visit the site, whether they know someone there or if it's just a symbolic thing, I mean, that's really beautiful. And Ruth is still fucking killing it.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that she went through all of that, suffered a stroke, and is now like, no, I'm going to write, like, fuck you all. I'm writing my story. I'm making a movie.
And you know what I love is that this story would have been incredible had she just helped Jimmy. I can't say I would have gone into that room, you know?
No, with the fear-mongering and everything going on in that time frame?
Yeah, because no one knew how it was spreading. And like, okay, well, medical professionals are scared, so I should be scared.
I know. That's incredible.
Yeah, and had she just helped Jimmy, this would have been a story worth telling. But the fact that she kept going is insane. And I think
the fact that when all these random people just started calling her and that she was like, all right, yeah, come on, I'll help you.
Let's do this. Strap in, people. This is happening.
Well, the fact that her daughter obviously picked up on it too, and I assume her husband was somewhere. At least
never read about him. So she may not have been married. I don't know.
That's true. I was going to give him props, but maybe I won't.
Hey, Ruth, if your husband was cool, he gets props. If you didn't have one, you get props. I mean,
you get props either way.
Yeah, you're fucking awesome.
Because obviously he didn't really play a big part in this story.
Well, this is her story, you know? And I think she deserves...
This is whining about her story.
Yes. We are whining so hard about you, Ruth. I think she deserves an extra cheers. I was doing the research for this story and I kept like having these like little mini crying fits because it was so sad. I'm like, I don't know how I'm actually going to tell this.
I don't want to tell my story now because it's like, that was so serious and moving, and mine is really, these women didn't really do anything like super amazing. I just thought they were kind of cool.
Here's the thing though, like being a woman and being badass, like we shouldn't use one woman's story to invalidate another. So
I'm
whoever
not saying
you're
invalidating them.
I want to hear them. And honest to God, our listeners are going, Kelley, I am crying. I need you to bring me back up right now, and you will deliver.
Maybe. Oh.
Okay,
so just get into it then.
That's Ruth Coker Burks. I am done.
See, I guess the
praise
reason
her
I
and I'm done.
assumed she was married, which I shouldn't do, but I'm guessing that's a hyphenated name.
I don't know. Hold on. I had her like full birth name. Da da da. Boop boop boo doo 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 doo.
Okay, so it doesn't look hyphenated, but that doesn't mean it's not two last names.
Yeah. She was born as Frances Ruth Coker Burks. So she actually dropped a name. But you know what? Long names are worth saying.
Yeah, they are.
It's like a power move, man. I should tell people to address me by my full name in the future because I want to see them out of breath from saying it.
It doesn't look like she's married. I don't see anything on her Wikipedia page.
Here's the thing, though. I couldn't even find her actual birthday, and this lady is still alive.
Maybe that's intentional.
Do you think she's on Twitter? Can we find her on Twitter and follow her and wish her a happy birthday?
But we don't know when her birthday is.
Well, I'll find out from her Twitter. I'll ask her. I'll DM her.
According to Wikipedia, she's somewhere between age 59 and 61.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it was like 58 or 59.
Yep. That's very interesting.
I'm sipping on smoothie, and it's delicious. I'm so happy. I need this.
All right. I guess I'll just start on mine then.
Please do.
So I'm covering 2 women, actually, but their stories intertwine. They are known as the Queens of the Sydney Underworld.
Ooh, like Sydney, Australia?
Yep.
Oh, I fucking love this. This is dark. I love it.
So the first person I'm covering is named Kate Leigh. She was born March 10th, 1881 in Dubbo, New South Wales. The 8th child of a Roman Catholic family, because, no birth control.
We don't believe in birth control.
Her parents were named Timothy Behan, who was a bootmaker, and his wife Charlotte. Her childhood and teenage years included childhood neglect, time in a girl's home at age 12, and an out-of-wedlock pregnancy. Her daughter, Eileen May Behan, was born in 1900. That is it. That is all you will hear about the daughter.
Okay.
It's like a side note. She had a daughter out of wedlock in 1900.
It's one hell of a childhood.
In 1902, Leigh married James Ernest Jack Leigh, so that's where she got her last name. He was an illegal bookmaker and petty criminal.
Illegal bookmaker?
Like, I think that's, when you have a shop and you keep the books and then you have like a secret book, so you're like shoving profits. He was the person that would do that for people. That's what I assume.
Like a dirty accountant. Yeah. I thought he was like copying published books and selling them for cheaper. Like if I copied Twilight off of the internet and sold it.
That would be funny. No, at least I don't think so. They separated in 1905 when he was imprisoned for assault and robbery.
Classy.
Following his trial, Kate was convicted of perjury and for being an accomplice to the assault after being accused of lying under oath to protect her husband. Her conviction was overturned on appeal. They finally got an official divorce after the trial. Or no, they didn't get an official divorce until 1921, though. So like their marriage ended after the trial, but they didn't get like officially divorced for like 20 years. So in the early 1900s, Sydney made a 6 p.m. drinking curfew because they're smart.
We're getting dangerously close to breaking that curfew.
And Kate got straight to work taking advantage of that and opening a chain of illegal after-hours bars.
Get it, girl?
Then, when Australia made cocaine illegal, she took advantage of that too, buying all the coke she could, marking it the fuck up, and selling it exclusively.
Snort it, girl! No, I'm kidding. We don't advocate for cocaine use.
So throughout all this time, she earned her income variously. So the bars she opened were known as a sly grog. She was known as a sly grog trader, which is another name for a speakeasy or a saloon.
Oh, so she was like a bootlegger.
Yep. Except she was essentially an owner of a speakeasy, but they called it sly grog in Sydney.
Because they don't have any sense of beautiful language. They just make it sound as ugly and dirty as possible.
Obviously, she was also a drug dealer, and she also became a madam.
Ooh.
So a brothel owner.
Triple threat.
She became a major New South Wales underworld figure and has been referred to as the Queen of the Underworld. But there's 2 of them.
God, that's a fucking badass title.
So I'm doing them separately, and then I'm gonna do them how like they interacted.
You're gonna merge them like a transformer. Oh God, what do they call them in Power Rangers?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The Power Ranger people are.
Motherfucker, I'm too drunk for this. Not Autobots. Fuck, that's off-brand Transformers. Anyway, we need to move on. This is too much. I'll shout it out inappropriately in the middle of Kelley's story when I think of it.
So from 1919 to 1995, Kate's main enterprise, as I said, was the highly profitable sly grog trade.
It was a Zord.
I like that it took me half a sentence.
No, I knew the second you started talking. It was the Megazord.
Yeah. Moving on.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So, sly grog trade, which at its peak, Kate ran at least 20 sly grog outlets. And although she made much of her fortune from the illegal sale of alcohol, Kate is reported to have never drank or smoked.
They say that smart dealers don't use their product.
There you go. Kate also exploited the passage of the Dangerous Drug Act, as I mentioned, because it provided such a lucrative high demand for cocaine, and she made a lucrative illicit criminal distribution network.
Ooh.
She's
like early criminal LinkedIn.
Right. She derived her supplies from a corrupt network of doctors, dentists, chemists, and sailors, and amassed a considerable amount of wealth from this activity as well. These activities, the defense of these business serfs, an ongoing feud with rival organized crime leaders in NSW, which is New
Not
South
safe
Wales.
for work?
No, New South Wales.
No, that's NSFW, which
Right.
this podcast is.
Led Kate to be a prominent figure in Sydney's brutal razor gang wars of the 1920s and 1930s.
Oh, Jesus.
We'll get into that later. The police also intensively policed incoming vessels for overseas cocaine suppliers, but it was naval transit restrictions in World War II that led to a devastating interruption of Kate's overseas cocaine supplies. Kate did personally get involved in some violence throughout her years, though she was never convicted of any of the offenses.
If the glove don't fit. No, that's terrible.
On March 27th, 1930, she shot and killed John William Snowy Prendergast when he and other gangsters broke into her home. She was not indicted for the killing or for the shooting of Joseph McNamara in the crotch, nearby in Liverpool, St. Darlinghurst in 1931.
She shot a dude in the balls?
Yeah, that's what it says.
Oh
It says
my
in the
God.
crotch.
Wait, I'm sorry. She was got in trouble for killing a guy who broke into her home?
No, she didn't. She was never indicted.
Oh, okay.
She was never on either of those charges. She was.
Oh, okay.
She was involved in violence and never charged for it.
Man, with a nickname like Snowy, do you think he was into cocaine?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Kate was, however, imprisoned on drug-related charges. In July 1930, her house was raided by a drug squad, and she was found in possession of cocaine and sentenced to 12 months imprisonment.
Bummer.
Through alleged personal connections throughout officialdom, that was the word they used, she continued business throughout the 1930s and 40s, even while in jail. Despite frequent police raids and a mass of minor convictions, just a side note, she was charged on 107 occasions, but was only sent to prison on 13.
Jesus.
Yeah, the other one is worse, or has more. Appearing in courtrooms with flamboyantly expensive clothes and diamonds, her wealth was legendary. When appearing in court, she would wear diamond rings on every finger of both hands. During her heyday, she owned and operated the Sly Grog hotels that generated thousands of pounds in profit annually.
She's like the cocaine queen.
Yeah, and Sly Grog queen. She lived in a terrace house from 1933 until the house was demolished in 1950. The house that she lived in was also used as her main illegal hotel and Sly Grog shop. Yeah.
Jesus.
At the time, it was known as the Lansdowne Hotel, not to be confused with the legal Lansdowne Hotel. Yep.
Wait, so it's like when you're talking about, I'm sitting at the Lansdowne Hotel. Okay, wait, the legal one or the illegal one?
Right. I mean, the illegal one got demolished, but
there are two
at the
kinds
time,
of
yeah, that's very
hotels.
So her then de facto husband and bodyguard, Henry George Jack Baker, was shot outside this house by the well-known Sydney criminal John Chow Hayes in 1938. The house was also raided again in 1938. So like a month after the shooting, resulting in 48 bottles and 4 kegs of beer being confiscated. 3 months later, a police witness stated that the premises was a notorious sly grog shop, the worst in Sydney. and she was sentenced to another 6 months in prison
So
for selling liquor without a license.
when does prohibition in Australia end?
Because
for us-
coming to that.
Okay, because for America, it was through the 1920s, so about 10 years, and that ended in 1930-something. But for them, we're already in the 1930s. It's still like, no booze.
So we are skipping ahead to her death, just because there's a chunk of the story I can't tell with involving the other lady.
Okay.
But I'm going to tell her whole story, and then, yeah. Okay. Kate was undoubtedly one of Sydney's wealthiest women during the 1930s and 40s, but the taxation department sent her into bankruptcy. So it wasn't the police that destroyed this woman. It was the tax man.
Oh my God.
Because they got her for unpaid income tax and fines dating back to 1942.
Fucking Al Capone, man. Taxes will get ya.
Following that, in 1955, the government changed the law to allow legal hotels to serve alcohol until 10, which virtually killed off most of the sly grog trade.
Yeah.
And obviously put her out of business. Her famous quote to the Australian media was, "The bloom has gone off the grog."
I love that. I also love that, like, her job becoming more legal fucked her over.
Right? So for the later part of her life, she lived in virtual poverty in a small room above one of her old illegal hotels. She was financially dependent on her nephew, who ran a mixed business in the shop in the downstairs part of the house.
Okay.
She suffered a stroke on the 31st of January 1964 and was rushed to the hospital. She died on February 4th, and her funeral was held at St. Peter's Catholic Church. And it was attended by over 700 mourners.
Holy shit!
The press remembered the wily woman not only for her crimes, but for her patriotism and generosity to the poor. That comes in more. I didn't really talk about it in her original thing because it was linked.
Right.
But she was very, like, besides being wealthy and kind of flamboyant, she did a lot of, like, I'm going to give this to the food shelf and I'm going to give this to the poor. And so she was very generous with her wealth.
Well, that's like Pablo Escobar and Al Capone and a lot of those big mobs of the day. They put a lot of money into their communities and kind of endeared themselves.
Exactly.
Especially to the youth who then grew up and joined the organization. It's like it's beneficial for me to invest in this community who will then take care of me when the police are bearing down on me.
A lot of her money also went to things to help Australia during World War II.
Ooh.
Because, that was kind of that time frame.
God.
Before she got nailed by the tax man.
I never think of Australia in World War II.
I don't really know what they did. I mean, I think they were on our side.
I'm pretty sure they weren't Nazis.
No. But yeah, so she was remembered for a lot of, like, her patriotism during that time. Because obviously, she died only probably a few years after it ended. Like,
that's crazy. What a complex lady.
Yep.
She's just trying to make money, and she's taking advantage of what's illegal and where the demand is.
Right. So
I mean, again, we are not endorsing cocaine.
No. So she is buried in Botany Cemetery, now known as the Eastern Suburbs Memorial Park, in the Roman Catholic section, 29K, grave 896.
Ooh.
She's buried as Kathleen Ryan. Which must have been her birth name, I'm guessing.
Okay.
Because nowhere else does it say anything about Ryan. The next lady is named Matilda Mary Devine, but she went by Tilly. So her name was Tilly Devine.
Okay, that's fine. I was like, why wouldn't you go by Devine, but Tilly Devine?
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's a sexy name.
Tilly was born the daughter of bricklayer Edward Twiss and Alice Twiss at 57 Hollington Street, Camberwell, London. So she's from the UK.
I'm twirling my imaginary British mustache.
In 1915, she and many English and Australia women were found working as prostitutes and thieves. So she got her start in the underworld pretty early.
Yeah, because when you're poor, all there is for women is to be a sex worker, and all there is for guys to be a thief.
At 16, she married an Australian serviceman, James Edward Devine, and then they had one son who didn't even get named in 1919. That's it. That's all you hear about the son.
Hopefully he had like a really fulfilling and average life and he just got to be happy and that's why it's not worth mentioning.
Right.
Oh, he was fine. He was fine. No one cares.
Though her career in prostitution began when she was a teenager, it continued after she was married. She and many English women were usually found soliciting on the wide footpaths on the Strand at night. From 1915 to 1919, she spent time at the Bow Street Court and lockup for prostitution, theft, and assault.
Sex work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't that what I said?
Prostitution.
That's what it says.
No. And I know that. I just want to make sure that we're kind of doing our due diligence and like, prostitution's become a dirty word.
Has it really?
Yeah, it's sex work or sex worker is the preferred term now.
Okay. That's fine.
I'm not trying to call you out. I'm not trying to like
I honestly
shit on
didn't
you.
know, so.
No. And that's part of it. So anyone listening, we try to use appropriate terms. We don't always. I know I fucked up big time once.
Also, I lied. Her son is mentioned again.
Oh, well, fuck him. I don't care. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I will do my best when it gets brought up again, too.
Okay. Well, in a lot of the articles we do research off of don't use
and
the
it's
appropriate terms.
from back then.
Yeah.
Okay, so she spent years, blah, blah, blah. When her husband Jim returned to Australia, she followed him back on the bride ship Womana. So the bride ships were like when the servicemen married people, they had like an extra ship because they couldn't ride back on the ship with the servicemen.
Right.
Yeah,
it was
so they
like
called them a bride ship.
The wives of war or whatever.
Yep. So she arrived in Sydney on the 13th of January in 1920. Here's the son again. Her son stayed in London and was brought up by her parents.
And then he lived a happy life and we don't care.
That's what we're saying.
Cool.
Both Tilly and Jim Devine rapidly became prominent illegal narcotics dealers, brothel owners, and crime gang members in the Sydney criminal milieu.
I love that word.
Tilly became infamous in Sydney, initially as a sex worker, then later as a brothel madam. Is brothel still okay?
I think so.
I don't
know
what
the other word for that.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I'm not super woke. Like, I don't know all the words. So
let us know.
Thing. Email us at whiningaboutherstory@gmail.com.
But be polite about it.
Yeah, don't call us assholes. But, we want to do our best. And if we're not using the appropriate terms, please let us know.
Yeah.
And we'll even give you a shout out if you're not an asshole about it. Otherwise, I'll pretend I came up with it all by myself.
So she was initially a sex worker and then a brothel madam. And she was also an organized crime entrepreneur.
I love instead of organized crime boss, organized crime entrepreneur.
So, while New South Wales was making all of these other things like illegal, like after 6 p.m. drinking, just finish the bottle.
I don't think I can. Here's the thing.
I already took my second glass, so just finish the bottle.
I love the name of this wine. I love the description. This is the first wine where I'm like,
it's not that great.
That excited about it. And here's the thing. That's
Good.
just me, but I finished my smoothie.
Oh, I didn't.
So I need more wine and water.
So they passed the Vagrancy Act in 1905, which prohibited men from running brothels. It did nothing to stop women with criminal gang support and bribes from the police from running criminal enterprises, though.
I kind of fucking love that.
So she was basically like, well, you said men can't. I'm not a man.
Yeah.
Historian Larry Ryder has noted that the Devines ran a diversified operation. And I'm sorry if this is offensive, but this is literally what they called them at the time.
Okay.
Elite, quote, call girls were available for politicians, businessmen, and overseas guests of significance, while, quote, tenement girls were young working-class women who resorted to casual sex work to supplement their drug spendings, clothings, and meager earnings during times of Australia criminal and narcotic culture, and absence of a comprehensive welfare state and unemployment.
Okay, so there's one where this is their full-on career, and others where this is like a part-time gig to supplement
money. Yep.
Okay.
Older female prostitutes were known as, quote, boat girls, and they catered to itinerant sailors and working-class men.
Okay.
Tilly did not seem to run a similar operation for the gay sex market during this time because she believed it was not right. So she stuck primarily to heteronormative operations.
Okay. Here's the thing. Gay people need sex too.
I know, right?
At the time, that wasn't like accepted, and bummer for her.
Right? I'm like, she could have made so much more money.
I know! That's what I don't understand about it.
So like Kate, Tilly's wealth was legendary, although it was all earned from crime. which I guess Kate's was too.
I was going to say.
She owned much real estate in Sydney. She bought a bunch of luxury cars. She would keep gold and diamond jewelry, and she would travel first class in ships in the staterooms.
Did she have a jaguar or a leopard or whatever Josephine Baker had?
No, I don't think so.
Cheetah, that was it. I was going to say
Chiquita.
she needs some exotic cat to like pet sinisterly.
Chiquita
the cheetah.
She also used much of her wealth to pay bribes to the police and fines for her criminal convictions that spanned 50 years. Tilly faced numerous court summons and was convicted on 204 occasions during her long criminal career. She served many jail sentences, mainly for sex work, violent assault, affray, and attempted murder.
Jesus Christ.
She was known to the police to be of a violent nature and was known to use firearms.
She has no chill.
No. Jim Devine, so her husband, who was now at this point an ex-serviceman and shearer. So I'm guessing that's sheep.
Oh my God, that's so appropriate. We're drinking sheep
super
thrills.
Funny. Was also known as a violent standover man. I don't know what that means.
Maybe like an enforcer?
Maybe.
Or like intimidator?
I can see that. He was also a convicted thief, a pimp, a drug dealer, a vicious thug, and a gunman.
Fuck, man.
He was also an alcoholic, just as a side note.
Yeah.
He committed a number of high-profile murders in Sydney between 1929 and 1931. I'm not going to go into like who he murdered because it doesn't really matter.
This isn't his story.
Although he did shoot and kill two of them actually, two people outside of his house, like him and Tilly's house.
Jesus. Yeah. That place is haunted.
So I mention him to bring up that him and Tilly's marriage was absolutely marred by domestic assault from both ends. They kind of just beat each other up.
Jesus. I was going to say, like, she seems like, here's the thing, domestic abuse can happen to anyone, but she seems like a woman who would take shit to the extreme. So I have a hard time believing it would just be from him to her.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, she's a violent person in her own right.
Right. Yeah.
Not to necessarily glorify that. I know we're doing that a little bit here, but it sounds super dysfunctional.
So in 1931, Jim did get charged at the court with attempted murder of his wife after a heated discussion.
Fuck.
At the time, Tilly ran out of their house at the end of the discussion, and Jim fired a number of shots at her, similar to a way that he had murdered someone else.
Oh my fucking
However,
God.
Tilly escaped unscathed, the only damage being to one of her brand new stilettos, the left one.
I just bought these, you fucking
Right.
son of a bitch!
Their terrified neighbors called the police, and that resulted in Jim being arrested and charged. He was later acquitted because Tilly refused to testify. Yeah.
That would probably bring her under some scrutiny, too.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
It would have to. They separated in the early 1940s and were finally divorced in 1944. Shortly after she separated from Jim, she became lovers with a longtime criminal associate known as Skinny Kenny, who then became her standover man. So I'm guessing, he was like the intimidator.
He was the bruiser. How do these people get their fucking nicknames?
I don't know.
What do you think my nickname would be?
So she did end up getting married a second time, but not to Skinny Kenny. She got married to another ex-seaman and returned serviceman, Eric John Parsons. And she famously shot Parsons in the leg after an argument only months after they were married.
Jesus fucking Christ.
This occurred in their house, which is the house opposite the notorious Tradesman Arms Hotel, which maybe some people know what that is, and I don't. It says it's famous. Maybe we'll look it up. The funny thing is that's where they met each other. So they met each other and then bought the house across the street. She was eventually arrested by police and charged with this shooting, but was acquitted, and they were happily married for 13 years until he died of cancer.
Oh. So maybe that relationship wasn't marred by horrible abuse? Or
at least after the shooting.
Well, that was just her getting shit out of her system. Right? No, I'm kidding. That's super inappropriate. Women can abuse men. It's true.
So she is known as one of the most violent criminals in the game at that time. She set fire to policemen, pulled apart a man's face with a razor, and generally slashed to ribbon any John who tried to cross her.
Holy shit.
Yeah, that bitch was scary. Like, That's terrifying. She pulled apart a man's face with a razor.
Jesus. Like,
Yeah.
like, you know when you see someone get their hand slammed in a car door and your hand feels weird? My face tingles in that same way.
I know. However, Tilly wasn't a one-trick pony, or maybe a one-stab pony.
One stab, slash, and shoot pony.
She was a real Renaissance woman, although it was all in crime. Along with her talent for brothel running and violence, she also moved into the illegal booze trade, which I'll talk more about because obviously that directly interferes with Kate. Because she ran the Sly Grog trade.
Tilly and Kate, pissed off criminals.
Yeah. So Tilly was also brought down by the tax man, and she was forced to pay 20,000 euros in unpaid income tax in 1955, and that sent her into bankruptcy. In 53, Tilly boasted to the media, quote, "I am a lucky, lucky girl. I have more diamonds than the Queen of England's stowaways and better ones, too." And then she got ripped a new one by the tax man.
Fuck, man.
She sold off her last brothel in 1968 and died 2 years later. She is known for her flamboyant acts of generosity and her violent feud with Kate Leigh, which I'll get into after this. She also had a feud with Detective Sidney Farrell and was arrested by him on many occasions, and that feud lasted for 30 years.
You know, if this was a drama, they would have fallen in love and gotten married. It would have been really weird.
Yeah.
I'm making this movie. I'm completely fucking over history, and I'm making this movie.
Tilly suffered from bronchitis for the last 20 years of her life and died from a mix of that and cancer at age 70 on November 24th, 1970.
Jesus Christ, who dies from bronchitis in the, did you say 40s or 50s?
70s, 1970.
Oh, that's, what? Like, I get cancer was in play, but Jesus.
Her funeral service was held at the Sacred Heart Catholic Church in Darlinghurst. And though Kate Leigh's funeral was attended by over 700 people, her funeral service was poorly attended and her death went virtually unnoticed by Sydney's media and population, and it was said very few people openly mourned her death.
Aww.
The only public eulogy offered to Tilly was given by the then police commissioner Norman Allen, who said, quote, "She was a villain, but who am I to judge her?" End quote.
So even the cops that she was in direct opposition with were like, okay, come on.
It does say she was survived by her son and 2 grandchildren. So he went on to have kids.
Okay. I wonder where they are now.
I know.
That's such a, like my grandparents are great. I love them, blah, blah, blah. But how cool is it to go into like first grade and be like, well, my great grandmother was a drug lord and a madam and she killed a bunch of people.
Right.
Like, you win kindergarten.
So Kate and Tilly both operated gangs to manage their business and take care of their enemies. So when Tilly started moving into the illegal booze trade, you know, Kate obviously took notice and kind of retaliated almost by opening her own brothels. Like, so they kind of, like, they started to kind of merge into each other's stuff.
Obviously, this is not how the story ends, but I want
this is like the middle of the story.
But I want them to like kind of match each other move for move, and then like have a heated argument. They make out and they leave their men for each other and start this incredible lesbian criminal empire.
So as the women became firm rivals, the gangs now knew their enemies, attacking each other on sight with razor blades after Sydney outlawed guns. Huge fights of gang members cutting the living shit out of each other became a common sight in Sydney. The ceaseless violence between the two became known as the Razor Gang Wars.
I love how you wrote that. Cutting the shit out of each other. And
that
that's
was actually
not
pulled directly from one of my sources.
Are you fucking
I'm not gonna
serious?
Take credit for that.
Like, that shouldn't be funny. But here I am.
However, the violence wasn't limited to street fights. Here are just some of the things Kate and Tilly did to each other.
Bring it on.
They ransacked each other's businesses and set fire to them, ordered rival gang members to be disfigured. One time, they shot out Tilly's home, and then Tilly's husband shot Kate's right-hand man in the face. So that was a thing.
Jesus. Is it October? Are we doing our felonious females this month?
No. The war didn't just play out via stabbings and via their underlings. Kate and Tilly liked to play one huge weapon on each other, PR. The two women, along with killing and mutilation, would use public relations to destroy each other in the papers. You know, like celebrities of the modern day.
Oh my fucking God. Twitter wars.
Kate loved a good bit of PR, you see, and she wanted to be seen as Sydney's jovial mother figure. Sure, she might have shot and killed a couple of guys, but really underneath it all, she was just this nice lady who happened to run a criminal empire.
You know, there's nothing wrong.
The quote from my source was, you guys, people actually bought into this.
You know, there's nothing wrong with selling a little bit of cocaine and selling a little bit of sex and then killing a whole bunch of people. Yeah. I'm putting the money back into the community.
That's what it says. It says,
here, have some hot dish, calm down. Let's go to the local Lutheran church and calm down.
It says, it wasn't difficult for Kate to become a beloved criminal. Tilly was famous for slashing Johns and dousing policemen in petrol, while Kate was making a very public show of donating some of her money to poor children and hosting Christmas for the city's poverty-stricken families.
Holy fucking shit.
She looked so much better than Tilly that it wasn't hard for her.
And they weren't doing anything different. They were both really bad people, but one of them just had a sense for the public eye, you know?
Even when being trailed by police, Kate would find a good time for an old-timey photo op. I'll post that picture on our blog.
Oh my God.
In one newspaper, it was even noted that the journalist took time to note that a detective followed Kate while she was bound on a noble errand of supplying food for the unemployed.
So someone is tailing her and she's like, oh, I'm just donating food to the local food shelter.
So obviously, there was no way Tilly was going to get a better image than Kate. So she focused on tearing down Kate's image.
Right.
Hold on, gotta scroll down.
No wonder no one went to her fucking funeral.
Right? Tilly played up her English roots to in a bid to appear more classy, to be like, oh, I'm not even gonna try. I'm too drunk.
Oh, I'm from jolly old England. I sip my tea at noon every day. Oh, that's
she would
bad.
often bring up Kate's childhood abuse to try and illustrate how rough Kate was. And she was more than happy to trash her rival to any journalist she could find, saying, quote, I'm not like Kate Leigh anyway. I might drink and have a run-in with the police now and then, but I don't take dope and no one can say I have ruined young girls. Kate Leigh does all this. I know, she was a brothel madam. It makes no sense.
I'm like, what?
But the women's tabloid fun and games was to end. In the early 1930s, police were hot on both of their heels, and after a series of armed brawls between their gangs, the net closed in. Tilly fled home to England for several years, while Kate wasn't so lucky. After a series of raids, Kate was arrested, spending the next few years locked up. Obviously, Kate being Kate, she owned the prison.
Yeah.
She invited the warden's wife for tea and pretty much ruled over the other inmates.
Jesus.
But when she was released, Kate found herself in a very different world, with drugs and illegal boozing now completely off Sydney's streets. Luckily for her, she managed to keep her brothel business running, and therefore remained one of Sydney's wealthiest citizens. Tilly also landed on her feet and came back to Sydney and began, reoperating her chain of brothels. Then in the 1940s, Kate and Tilly did the impossible. They called a truce, and by now all their friends were dead or in jail, and they really only had each other.
Oh my God. So basically it's like, okay, we've slashed and burned this entire community.
Now
there's
we really only
no
have
one
each other.
left except each other, so let's shake hands and deal with it.
However, that didn't stop them from continuing to constantly tear each other a new one in the press.
Oh my God, they're such catty bitches.
And that is the story of Tilly Devine and Kate Leigh.
Holy shit. I'm so disappointed because they had this great opportunity to come together and be like, girl, I see you.
Right?
Honey, I see you too.
They could have empowered themselves so much more if they would have just, empowered each other.
I'm, mad at how that story ends.
I know, but I still love them.
It's so cool because
I just love that, it was oh no, they didn't end up killing each other. They didn't get killed for their criminal things. No, they got fucking taxed into, oblivion.
That's how they get them. I don't want to get political, but
life, man, death and taxes.
Yeah, well, opponents to Trump are he's gonna fall because of his taxes.
Yeah.
It's he doesn't, like, pay his fucking taxes. A lot of people don't pay their fucking taxes. But,
particularly politicians.
well,
Particularly politicians.
Well, and I'm sad that they didn't, like, come together and be like, hey, let's join forces and just woman out everyone else.
Oh, yeah. They had a beautiful chance that they could have taken, and they didn't, and I'm a little sad.
I'm mad this wasn't, like, a lesbian criminal story. But that's still super cool because we hear about men all the time, like, running these incredible criminal empires.
Yeah, so
and here were two women.
The women that ran Sydney's criminal empire.
Jesus Christ.
That cup's plastic.
Fucking A, Australia.
Right? Good on ya.
Okay. Kelley.
What am I thankful for? The smoothie and my awesome husband.
I mean, yeah, no, I finished off my smoothie, and that thing is delicious. And I see you haven't made much of a dent in yours.
No, you can't have it.
Oh, God damn it. You know what? Kate should have empowered Tilly, and you should empower me to drink your fucking smoothie.
I am getting my husband to order us pizza.
Oh my God, I could do some pizza. This is what happens when we record 2 episodes in a row. I get really drunk and I get really hungry.
But yeah, I'm very thankful for my husband.
No, seriously, him making us smoothies and, like, being supportive of us doing this podcast is really sweet. I'm also thankful for my boyfriend who gave me a ride here today, so I can just get as drunk as I want, not have to worry about driving home.
We can finish off some of the last episode's wine that's only, like, half drunk because we had to do it on a weeknight.
We have, like, half bottles from, like, 2 weeks ago that we haven't finished yet. But what I'm super thankful for this week, if you're done. Yeah, I don't want to cut you off.
Go for it.
I want you to be able to speak your piece. But I'm really thankful for this week. So Kelley and I obviously had July 4th off because that's our Independence Day. And Jared and I, my boyfriend, we took advantage of it and visited his brother in Wisconsin, about 3.5 hours away. And we got to visit him, his wife, their kids, some other family members. And it was really great. I haven't been out there. It's been like a year since Jared's been out there. And it's because he's so far away, you know, they're not the family members we get to connect with on a personal level as much. And especially because Jared and his brother were both overseas around the same time. And so for them to have that connection and be able to share that is really incredible. It was so sweet. They are incredible. And then his brother, so Jared's sister-in-law was telling me some stories of, you know, when she's trying to raise 2 girls on her own. I'm not going to, like, share too much because I don't have permission. But, like, she's telling me these stories and I'm like, you're a goddamn badass. Like, you were dealt a shitty hand and you were like, this is the way it is. Let's watch as I get shit done. And she's just so incredible. She's such a strong lady. And they welcomed us into their home. And it was just a really nice weekend. It was a really great 2 days to see them and spend time with them because we really don't get that a lot. So I'm really thankful for that and that they have such a good relationship.
I had to work on Friday.
That sucks. I took Friday off. Otherwise, I would have had to work.
I took the Friday before off to spend time with my husband.
That's nice, though.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right, because her husband was like, you and Emily aren't recording that Friday, right? Because you're mine.
Yeah.
And not in a possessive, shitty way.
Really cute. Like, it was
but
cute.
I love you and I want to spend time with you kind of way.
It's because a new expansion came out for the video game we're playing, so that's what we did for 3 days.
Nice. Love it.
Except we didn't get to expansion content until, like, yesterday, so... That's because we stopped playing this game for like 2 years, so we missed like an entire expansion and a half, so we had to like finish all that shit first. We're nerds.
Is this the Final Fantasy
14.
MMORPG?
Yeah.
Nice.
We really like it.
Final Fantasy fans are throwing their hands in the air and going, woo!
Woo! Yeah, I love it. Okay, so thank you for joining us today. Feel free to reach out to us. Our website is whiningabouthersty.com. And our email is whiningabouthersty@gmail.com. We also have a Twitter, which is WAH_pod.
Because someone took WAH pod.
I know. I should look them up.
We need to
I should
follow
follow
them.
them. Hold on.
I hope they're really cool. Okay, Kelly's going to do this while I do my plug shit.
Yeah, I'm like, come on. You're supposed to pick up after me.
Follow us on Facebook at Whining About Herstory, Instagram at WAH pod.
We'd love to hear about any women in your life or yourself or women from history you'd like us to cover.
Are you doing cool shit? Tell us about it. Are you doing cool art? Tell us about it. Do you have a feminist stamp collection? Tell us about it. Are you just kind of like feeling overwhelmed by life and you need some advice? Fucking tell us about it. I get it, man. We are like, we struggle. And it's great to be able to connect with people and be able to share our experiences. So please email us and rate us 5 stars wherever you listen. It's super helpful. And are you still looking up that person on Twitter?
Yes, and I am okay with it because it's the Women Advocacy on HIV and AIDS and prevention of other diseases.
Oh my God, that's so appropriate.
It's not like a site I can follow, but that's who has that tag.
Can we follow them?
No, they
What?
They don't like have like they're not like a people.
Oh, so they don't
But it's
have
like
a profile?
tag. No, it's weird.
Okay, well, we're going to do some more research because that's
pretty cool.
incredibly appropriate. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. I'm Emily.
I'm Kelley. Sorry.
And have an empowered day.
Bye.
Bye.